Alright, what's up guys? My name is Shay Norris and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to do a little bit of a 2D movement system in Godot. Whether it's for pixel art games or high resolution games with painted artwork, this will pretty much work for any 2D project that you would like to do. But anyways, to get started with, as you can see, I'm just here in my workplace. I saved this already as a little bit of a node, just a little test node, and I've got myself just a simple sprite 2D for the background and just a node TD. But just to start off with, we're going to click and add a new child node. In this case, we're going to add a character body 2D. And as you can see here, there is a little bit of a warning. It has no collision shape 2D. So we're going to go over here and we're just going to press the add button. And before adding a collision 2D, I'm just going to add a little bit of a sprite just to show off what our character is going to look like. In this case, I'm just dragging a little sprite that I illustrated a while ago, and it's a bit blurry, so I'll have a little bit of a pixel art tutorial video soon on how to make sure that it's not blurry. But either way, I'm just going to go down here and select filter and change it to nearest so that he's not pixelated anymore. I'm going to go all the way up here and I'm just going to go over and add a collision shape 2D. Now you can add a polygon 2D, but I would highly recommend adding a collision shape 2D because in this case we have a couple of different options here. You can make it a circle, you can make it a rectangle, but the one that I would recommend making it the most is the capsule shape 2D, and you could just stretch it to kind of fit the shape of your character. In this case, I would highly suggest just leaving a little bit of air around the character. Anyways, I'm just going to drag this right in here so that it's kind of like in our scene here, and what I'm going to do is just attach a script to our wonderful character body 2D, and I'm just going to name it 2D movement. Now I have a previous script there I did a previous take of this video that ended up not working out as I expected, but that's okay, it's just hanging out there. But either way, just to start off with, I'm just going to type one thing for you guys here. I'm just going to take an export variable and we're just going to put var speed is equal to 100. There we go. And so essentially what this export thing is it basically just means that if you go into the properties tab on the side here, there's going to be a separate category for whatever you put your export variable in on the side here, and we can change it outside of the script. So if you want to make your character faster, you don't need to change it inside of the script every single time. You can just change it right here, which is perfect for what we need. And after that, I'm just going to type in a function. So I'm going to type func physics process. And basically what this thing is here, what this function is it's basically a function that triggers every single time a frame runs in the game, which is extremely important if we want to make a movement script because we want the player to move every single frame in the game. Now, for the next part of the script, I'm just going to copy down a couple of other things here. The first thing that I'm going to copy down right here is this thing here. This is just a variable for input vector. And this thing, the way it basically works is it uses this function here called input.getVector, and it has all of these different things here. Now, before we do anything else in the game, so essentially this function right here gets the vectors of every single one of these variables. In this case, this would be your keyboard or your gamepad. So it gets every single one of these and it turns it into a vector. And basically anytime you press one of these keys, it turns into the number 1. And when you're not pressing it, it turns into the number 0. And so basically that's how we determine how you're moving in the game, is if it's a 1, that means like if I press down my W key, that means that the moving up is 1, which means I'm going to move up 1 pixels per frame. If I press down, I'm going to move down 1 pixel per frame. But the problem here is that we don't want to move 1 pixel per frame, we want to move a little bit faster than that. So that's where we have this function right here. So velocity is equal to input vector multiplied by speed. So basically what this means is velocity is just a variable on our character, which means the movement of our character. We want our character to move. move. And the input vector is this thing right here, which is our little, like we're getting all of our inputs here, multiplied by speed, which is this number here. So for example, when we press move left, when we push it down, instead of it being 1 and 0, it's going to be 100 and 0. So we're going to move 100 pixels or 100 whatever per frame, which is exactly what we need. And for our next function here, I'm just going to copy this, and it's something called move and slide, which is a built-in function in Godot, which is basically just a fancy way of saying, okay, this character is going to move around and they're going to bump into any collision node that's on the side here. And I'll actually show you how that works in a little bit. So now that we have all of that done, we're just going to press play, and as you can see, I can't move around. Why? I can't move around at all. And there's a very good reason for that, and I'm going to show you why. So if we go over to project settings here, I'm going to show you something called an input map. So if we go back to the script here, you can see that there's a bunch of little things here. We have something called move left, move right, move up, and move down. And so these things are inputs. And so if we go over to project settings and we go back to input map, and we just type out up, for example, and we press add, we're actually creating a new input for the game. And in this case, if we just press a little plus button there and we press down W for up, you can see that we just added a little W thing in our input map. And we can do this for every single key in the game. So down, we just press S, and for left, we press A, just like that. And for right, we press D, there we go. And we have input for every single one of these things. And here's the thing too, is that using this input map, you can also make your game compatible with controllers. So in this case here, if I just go over down to input, filter inputs, I can actually type in, or actually just go down to the joypad axes thing. And I don't have a joypad to demonstrate this, unfortunately, but it's good to get in habit to do this kind of stuff. We're going to select left stick up, joystick up for our up function right here. And for down, we're just going to select the down one. And for the left one, we're going to select the left. And for the right one, we're going to select the right. And this will actually make your game's movement compatible with a controller. And so if we go back here, we actually want to change all of these to our inputs that we just made. So for example, we have left, right, up, and down. We want to name these exactly the way that we named them in our little input map. I just realized the game was running the whole time. Whoops, don't do that. If I just press run scene or just press run project, let me just select the current scene. As you can see, I'm actually moving, but I'm moving really slow. And that's because we need to change our speed number. As you can see here, we have our little speed number, and we can change that to whatever we want. So in this case, I could change it to 2000. I'm just gonna run my little project, and holy smokes, I'm like moving extremely fast. Like, look at this. Whee! I think I'm moving a little bit too fast, but that's okay. That's the whole idea of kind of experimenting with with what we got here. Let me just close that. There we go. And so in this case, let's say I don't want to move that fast. I'll probably change it to something in the middle, like maybe 750, I think would probably be a good middle ground. But anyways, along with that, I kind of want to show you guys how collisions work in Godot as well. So let me just quickly go over and add a couple of things into here. I'm just going to add a collision shape, and in this case I'm just going to make the shape a rectangle, and we're just going to do this for every single kind of, I'm going to be a little bit lazy. Normally I should be a little bit more accurate when I'm doing this, but I could just duplicate it, put one all the way up here. Sorry, I'm just gonna unlink that, which is just that little thing I clicked, and just make that. And then duplicate that one, just like so. What is this little warning inside of here? Oh yeah, we're supposed to add a node. We're supposed to add a static body 2D, and we're just gonna put all of these little collision shapes inside of it. Otherwise, if you put it in the sprite 2D, it won't work. But anyways, just a bunch of little rough things. But yeah, as you can see with our collision shapes, if we walk around and we move, we're actually bumping into them. So we got a little collision shape right here and right here, which is exactly what we want. And so for example, I'm just gonna make like a little one of these and just put them right in the middle. The biggest thing that we really want to avoid in the game is, so the reason why these capsule these capsules work so well is because if we actually play the game and we move around here, it actually slides off of it. Like if you're holding like your left key and your right key, you can see that we're sliding off of it. You should try this yourself. Try making a little polygon shape and try a bunch of the different capsule shapes here. And if we change it to let's do like a rectangle shape here, you'll see that our character actually ends up getting stuck on it. We'll get like a little bit more stuck on it. Instead of like sliding gracefully, they kind of like jitter a little bit. So capsule shapes are extremely helpful, and there are plenty of explanations out there that are a lot better for stuff like this. But let's just say that when you're making your movement script, you kind of want to use those. Alongside that, if I just go over here and I go over and make some more adjustments to these things, if I make more adjustments to this movement script, I actually want to show you guys a couple more things you can probably add to your movement script. So now I'm actually going to show you guys a little bit more of an advanced thing that you can add inside of your movement script, because if you can see here and I play the game one more time, you can see the movement's cool, but it's kind of like jittery and like super sudden and stuff like that, which is okay, but acceleration is one of the coolest things you can add to your movement. So I'm just going to paste a couple of things here. I'm going to add a variable called acceleration right here. So I'm actually just going to paste a couple of things here, and so I've got two new variables for a script here. I've got a variable called acceleration, and I've got a variable called friction. And essentially what these variables are for is we're actually going to modify the script a little bit and make it accelerate and have friction when we move and stop moving. So instead of this middle line right here, I'm actually going to copy this line right here and put it right in here, and I'm just going to move these to the side and kind of explain what this is. So basically what this thing right here means is if input vector is not vector 0, which basically means if we're moving, then we're going to do this. And to explain this, this is a little function called move towards, which basically takes a value and it moves it towards whatever we want it to given a certain period of time every single frame. So in this case, we've still got input vector and we're multiplying it by speed. So we're moving however much speed we've got, but we've got these things in here. This thing right here means that we're going to move to the speed that we want to with this amount of time. So it's going to take that amount of time, the number of the acceleration multiplied by delta, which is the space between every frame, to get to the speed we want to. And this part right here, else, if we're not pressing any keys, we're going to move towards vector 0, vector 2, 0, which means we're going to stop moving. And we're going to stop moving at the speed of this value right here multiplied by delta, the space between the frames. So essentially what this means is we are essentially moving, and I'll show you this right now, we're moving kind of smoother, because instead of just moving instantly, we're actually slowly easing towards the speed that we want to. We're moving towards the speed that we want. And so you can actually mess around with these variables here. In this case, I'm just going to make the acceleration faster. So instead of it taking this long, let's put it at 4,000. Let's put friction at 4,000. So instead of it being like a slippery floor, we actually got like movement that feels a lot more smoother and pretty nice to work with actually. And you can see here that we're wonderfully colliding with our little walls that we put on the sides here. You can adjust those collisions, like for example, especially with like 2D characters, it's nice to have a little bit of extra space on the bottom so that it looks like they're actually going up against the wall rather than just colliding with the wall. Like, see, look at that. Much better. Wonderful stuff. And we can also change it, make it a little bit different. It's always good to get in the habit of changing these little variables. So in this case, we'll see what happens when it's like what it's like to like basically like float in space, where it's just like woo. So you can kind of mess around with these variables a little bit and have a lot of fun when you're making your little movement system. But anyways, that's pretty much it. That's essentially the basics of making a 2D movement system for your game. You can use this on pretty much anything, and I'm really excited to see what you guys make and what you guys do with it. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section below, or anything that I forgot to talk about in this tutorial. Please mention it to anybody watching the video so that they understand what they're doing, and I hope you guys have fun with your games. I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.